Hey, net neutrality, what's up? And today I'm gonna do another mini album review. I know I have been really busy lately, not because of other things, but for the very tight YouTube upload schedule, so it's it's kind of crazy that I'm uploading so many album reviews lately, but I really have to catch up because the year is about to end and I have to do all these reviews to explain on my opinions on a bunch of albums. So, without further ado, today I'm going to do 3 albums. First of all, I'm going to do the OC's Orc, or this time they are just OCs. They dropped the V, apparently. God, which is really blissful and insane with this driving, intense, tight drum beat where 2 drummers are going insane on their drums. What's it like? What's it like? And with this really sinister, Grinch-like vocals, the album opener is really shocking in a playful sense. I don't know, what's it like? And at first I was kind of weirded out by the album opener, but later I loved it a lot. And I also really enjoy the blissful bridge, which is basically an explosive excursion of noise just at your face, and it's really fun. I had a lot of fun listening to this song. And then it moves on to Night Expo, which is a little bit more slower, I guess, but it's still very fast. It's slow relatively, but it's still speedy Gonzalez. And again, with this really tight and aggressive drum beat, and these really funky synthesizers and keyboards, we have a really cerebral punk psych song. If the album hasn't hyped you up yet, listen to Animated Violence. Again, more insane drum beats just kicks off the song, and then the song starts off with these monstrous loud screams and yells where the band keeps hammering these instruments, and oh my gosh, it's really violent, like the title. And I also really love the snappy drums of the song, and the guitar riffs are just going places up and down. And I also really like the nice, really well practiced guitar riffs that's going up and down on this scale or whatever. Yeah, and then we have Keys to the Castle, which is more dense and uplifting in the first 2 minutes, but in the rest of the song, of the 6 minutes, it's basically this more slow, jazzy, experimental, folk kind of instrumental section where, yes, it's a little bit underwhelming, but it doesn't mean it sounds terrible. It actually sounds kind of good. I like how the band explores with more sound on that song too. And then we have Jettisoned, which is a more groovy and jazzy song with these creepy and sensual lyrics. And I also kind of enjoy Cadaver Dog, which is a more progressive and Pink Floyd influenced psych rock. Paranoise is one of the more experimental and abstract tracks on the album and their discography lately. It basically has all these crispy guitars, improvs, and these hissing sounds and other sound effects that goes really well mixed together, and I actually kind of like it. At first, it may sound like the band is going to a direction where they don't know where they're going, but after a couple more listens, I actually kind of enjoy this interlude-ish track. And I also kind of like Drowned Beast. I think that's kind of cool. And however, there's also a song or a track on this album that doesn't appeal as much as other tracks, but doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not as appealing and not as exciting, and that is Cooling Tower, which is kind of exactly self-explanatory, and I kind of enjoy the album Ender, which is Raw Optics, and at first it sounds like a pretty normal, insane, wacky OC's VOC's song, but like there's this long and winding, fun and crazy drum solo that makes up like almost the entirety of the song, and that's really interesting because I never really heard any band do that before. And yeah, that leaves a pretty memorable ending to a really crazy album that just blows your eardrums. Yes, the OCs really brought another great album onto our plates with their raw and energetic and insane performances. And the drums, the vocals, they go really well together. The worst song is Cooling Tower, and the best is The Static God. I'm giving OC's Orc an 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Jay-Z's 444, which is more Sean Carter than Jay-Z. If you don't know Jay-Z, come on, how can you not know him? He's the big, famous, rich rapper in New York who had been collaborating with Kanye West and a bunch of other famous, really famous rappers. And yeah, and basically on this album, Jay-Z is more personal. He's more intimate with us, and this album is full of cerebral and skeletal moments, and the album is also full of these simple rap verses that goes really well with these jagged and choppy samples. Anyway, it's kind of hard to describe this album because of how vague it sounds sometimes, but it's still a really good and well done album. It's really well produced too. And the most important of all, last year his wife Beyonce released Lemonade, which is a pretty good album in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people will also think that it's a pretty good album. And on Lemonade, Beyonce basically, talks about how Jay-Z kind of betrayed her and how she's upset about him, and I really want to know how will Jay-Z respond to that. Will Jay-Z just laugh it off and think of it as a joke, or will he actually, account for it and commit for it, and will he actually, do something seriously? And turns out he really seriously treated this issue, and he really buried his ego on this album, and there's a lot of moment on this album where we hear him being really apologetic too, which is really nice and new for Jay-Z. Anyway, the album started off with Kill Jay-Z, which is a really cinematic and worrisome opener. It's also kind of glitchy, and it's not the most accessible and refreshing album opener for a rap album ever, but it's cinematic, and I kind of like it as it grows on me. And then the album kind of welcomes you to the new Jay-Z's world with The Story of OJ, which is a really controversial song because of how black it is. I don't want to get too political on this video, but I'm neither black or white technically, so but I actually enjoy The Story of OJ. Although, yes, the lyrical content is kind of controversial, Jay-Z talks about no matter if you're rich or you're poor, no matter if you're powerful or you're just a beggar, if you're black, you're black. And yeah, musically it's also kind of good. I really love the Nina Simone sample on this thing, and the pianos are so relaxing and lighthearted, but at the same time it has this feeling to it that makes it real, authentic, and political in a way. And I really love the line where Jay-Z basically rap about, I'm not black emoji. Oh, okay. And I also really like songs like Legacy and Marcy Me. And yeah, Legacy is actually a pretty good ending for a rap album in the modern times. And I also kind of enjoy Bam, which is this really chopped up, choppy, really sharp reggae infused funky rap song that has a lot of Jay-Z vibe to it. Yeah, and I also kind of enjoy Caught Their Eyes, which is a more paranoia-inducing rap song, and I also kind of like the organic sounds to it that makes the song sound more like a freestyle than an actual produced song layer by layer. Songs like Moonlight is a little bit more drab and a little bit more kind of dry. It's underwhelming and it doesn't really go anywhere. And the song Smile, I really like the cute and endearing moments on that song, but it's also not as good as other songs on the album. I also kind of like the uplifting gospelized sounds on it, but eh. However, my favorite track on this album is 444, the title track, which is really personal. That goes really deep, and Jay-Z basically becomes his true self as Sean Carter, and he's so sincere and honest on this song. It's really good. You know, 444 is really personal, and the sample is also great. The music video is also great. And this song that song feels mildly painful, which the reason is because of how regretful the music sounds, and the song also sounds really woke, just woke.
Apologize, often womanized, took for my child to be born, see through a woman's eyes, took for these natural twins to believe in miracles, took me too long for this song, I don't deserve you. I harass you out in Paris.
Jay-Z's 444, I really like how Jay-Z makes the album so artistic, and his flow is also really nice in my opinion. Yes, this album, it's really good. The worst song is Moonlight, and the best is 444, the title track. I'm giving Jay-Z's 444 also an 8 out of 10. And of course, 2 good albums and 1 disappointing or just blatantly bad album. And I'm gonna talk about Macklemore's Gemini or Gemini. Yeah. So if you don't know Macklemore, he's this really poppy mainstream rapper whose husband is to Ryan Lewis, and Macklemore and Ryan Lewis always made these rap songs in the last 5 years, I think. I don't know. Well, anyway, he's back just himself, and he basically produced. Did he even produce? I don't know, but he put out all these series of rap songs in his new album. So Macklemore, first I want to say that Macklemore is avoiding all the political topics that he wants to talk about on this album, because most of the lyrical content on this album is so shallow and unimportant. And I also really don't like most of the sounds on this album. Let's start off with basically all the songs. All the songs tries to be this huge and grand rap anthems, but it just doesn't work. It's all really lackluster, boring, mundane, and dry. And the whole album just feels like a bunch of ill-conceived demos and B-sides. And that's why the album just feels kind of dumb and moronic sometimes. And Yeah, the album starts off with, I forgot, but it's like, who would start off a rap album like that? Oh my gosh. And then on Glorious, like, there's a really good meaning and concept to this song, but this song just comes out as one of the more boring and mundane songs from Macklemore, and it just feels like Macklemore just ripped himself off on Glorious. And Marmalade feels like a ripoff of Dram's Broccoli because of its really wannabe fun pianos and auto-tune. And Dram was actually infuriated by this song, and he tweeted out like a tweet on this song, but fortunately Dram did not sue Macklemore because he is better than this. And yeah, if Macklemore is not ripping himself off, he is ripping someone else off. Like on Corner Store, he's basically Chance the Rapper. On Fire Breather, the sound just sounds like Jimi Hendrix. And on pretty much the rest of the album, it just sounds like a really crappy and trashy cover of Imagine Dragons instrumentals and its hip hop. And that's why the album sounds really trashy in general with all of these recycled sounds. And how to play the flute, I think that's the title, is basically this future mask-off rip-off. Oh gosh. And songs like Miracle and Good Old Days featuring Kesha, they're just forgettable. I don't even know why I'm talking about these songs, and the lyrics are terrible. They're just dumb, cringy, and Chainsmokers level on this album. But, you know, to be honest, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, they don't really have any high lyrical standards for their songs and albums in general, but on this album specifically, the lyrics are just cringy and irritating. Like Willy Wonka. Bitch, I'm Willy Wonka! Like, come on, like, who does that? Who does that? And another verse is basically, I want world peace, but I watch World Star. I want to be a feminist, but I'm watching porno? What the fuck? And, oh gosh, and it feels like Macklemore is rapping over this royalty-free, some 9-year-old YouTuber who's using these royalty-free trap music on the intros. And the song Intentions is just really gross, it's boring, it's really unnecessary, and it doesn't go anywhere, it just builds up to nothing. Yeah, there's a couple of songs that I actually kind of enjoy on this album. One of them is Excavate, which feels a little bit stressful, a little bit harsh, and yes, it's kind of underwhelming, but it's the better ones. My favorite track, however, is Levitate, which has this driving, fun beat, and the verses is a little bit better.
I said, woo, don't make me break out the velour suit and the Stacy's. Give me a bass line, then I break beat, fuck around on the dance floor like a baby.
In my opinion. But yeah, overall this album is really unimpressive and really forgettable. I really don't look forward to anything Macklemore will put out in the future. Like, again, I don't hate Macklemore, but this album, come on, man. Like, the verses, the lyrics, they are subpar, it's spotty, it just feels so thoughtless, mindless, effortless, and Macklemore tries to be mainstream, but he just totally fails. It just feels like a waste of an album. I'm giving it a 2 to a 3 out of 10. So, have you listened to these 3 albums? From 1 to 10, how much would you rate it? rate them, like if you like them, hate if you hate them, and subscribe if you want more.